Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the interesting developments and I think tragic in many ways, given what's happened to Western democracy and the rule of law and due legal process and so on, is the attempt to take out Donald Trump. Now, the globalists just wanted to prevent Trump from being a political candidate in the future. That was so their objectives were, I suppose, fairly limited in that sense. And they thought if we make life difficult enough for him and attack him from enough fronts simultaneously, using lawfare and assassinating his image, if you like, on using the global media, which they all control, and this constant thing of he's literally Hitler and that type of stuff, that we can eventually get him to say, look, it's not worth it. Why don't I just have a quiet life playing golf? I'm a wealthy man, have my go and play golf all day and have a quiet time. I'm in my past my mid-70s. So that they would have sat down, they'd have made their calculations, maybe not very sophisticated calculations, but nonetheless, they would have, the globalists, the evil globalist stooge goons would have sat around the table and say, look, we'll just make it hard enough for him. He'll just throw his hands up in the air and walk away. And that was that was the objective. So that was their initial plan, I would argue, was that. So they said about that, and they purposely picked, black prosecutors, low IQ black prosecutors like Fani Willis and that idiot in New York and so on to do that, and then threw Jack Smith in just to I don't think that's his name, Jack Smith. Does he have another name? To then throw that into to just juice it up a little bit more, and they just invented and ginned up and fabricated cases against Trump. Now, one of the realizations when you're the target of such fabrications is it sends a message to you that we don't have to play by the rules. We can say anything and do anything we want to you, but you can't do it back to us. So this is not a level playing field where the facts and the evidence matter. We can make up cases against you. We can invent and fabricate anything we want at any time. We can do that from any area. We can do it from Georgia, or we can do it from New York. We can do it from anywhere. And we can do it on state-based, so that you can't get a presidential pardon later on or something. So they've thought all this through, and they're doing it as a thing. This is we're just letting you know that we can get to you anytime we want. And again, for any lie or any untruth or any made up legal case, we can get to you. Now, once you're sort of faced with that as a citizen, then you'll tend to go, okay, all right, well, there's no point in me fighting these guys. You can't fight City Hall. There's no point in me fighting these guys. I might as well just walk away. And all they want me to do is just make a public declaration that I'm not now and never will be a candidate for political office. And they've made it very quietly and covertly. They've made it clear that if I do that, then they're not going to bother with the prosecution, or I can pay them a $50 fine and walk away. So they're not going to prosecute it. They don't want the aggravation and the time of doing this either. But they will do it to prevent me from being and the January 6th stuff, and that's all part of that wider narrative of getting and neutralizing Trump. Now, they would have thought that was enough. Now, for someone who has been in the middle of some of these things where there's a number of parties out to get you and they're coordinating and so on. And I've been in that situation, so I've got some experience at it. And it gets to the point where you're willing to sort of the stress and the pressure and the everything, and you're looking down the barrel of being bankrupted by the legal fees. The stress and the pressure is so much that you think, okay, well, I'll give you anything you want. Just stop piling in on me, for goodness sakes. And I didn't have anywhere near the resources that Trump has, but I made the decision okay, all right, well, this is it. I'm going to fight you all. I will take you all on. So I just quit my job and represented myself legally and fought the good fight and fought each one of them. And now they were surprised by this. So they decided, okay, well, if you want warfare, fine, warfare it is. And now they are the ones that declared war, not me. But nonetheless, the only outcome that they were prepared to accept is that I rolled over and totally surrendered to them. That was the only acceptable, as they saw it. And they're like public servants, but also private players as well. And so anyway, I took them all on, and it took quite some time, I must say. But in the end, I won and beat them all. But do you actually win? For someone of limited resources, such as myself, and fighting the legal fight for that long without an income and that sort of thing, it was very much a Pyrrhic victory where the cost of winning was so great that I thought, well, what have I actually got? Okay, I beat them. I stopped them from beating me, but I didn't sort of get some huge outright win. I wasn't allocated costs in every case, that type of thing. So it was the years that you spend fighting are years in your life that you can't get back. So in that sense, I maybe wouldn't see it as a great victory. Nonetheless, in Trump's case, where he's tied to an election cycle of the presidency, then it's a slightly different thing. The time spent in that interim is the time to get to that objective at the other end. So a slightly different scenario. And of course, he's far, far wealthier than I was or am. So he's much better able to fight it out. Nonetheless, that was their first take. Let's make life as miserable as we can for him, and just have attack him from all sides, and then he'll just walk away, and we've won. And the victory from their perspective is to prevent him from being a candidate. They know that he won the 2020 presidential election. And they know that they had to cook up 20 million illegal, illicit votes for Biden to get him across the line. The guy who didn't campaign and couldn't string a sentence together somehow got the greatest, the record of presidential votes of all time. Yeah, sure he did. So they know that Trump can win and did win, and they're going to stop him. But they have to stop him. He's the only person that can oppose the globalist project, and who is he's an outsider. He's outside of the political control machine, the globalist control machine. All the others are within the globalist control machine. Trump is not. So they have to neutralize him for that fact alone. So if you look at great military battles of time, whether it's the Siege of Vienna or something in the 1680s, you look at all these battles and what you see in the long drawn-out battle is fairly evenly matched sides. Each side is evenly matched, or they pour resources into the struggle at roughly equal rates, so that what should have been, or could have been, or would likely have been a quick decision, militarily on the battlefield, instead becomes a drawn-out affair, because as each side perceives their position is weakening or deteriorating, or that they're gaining an advantage and they need to put a little bit more into it, that they'll add resources to it, and then the other side will add resources to their side of the struggle. And so it ends up being two evenly matched sides, and it turns it into a long drawn out struggle, each side thinking that just one more push and we've got him, or one more push back and that'll stop them. But instead they keep on going, each one thinking that they're close to getting final victory, or finally stopping the other side. So this is what's happened in the Trump versus the globalists thing, and that's what it is, by the way. It's not Trump versus the U.S. government, or this. It's Trump versus the globalists. The globalists control the U.S. government, and thus it's and the deep state. That's what the struggle's about. So they launch all these legal cases, but Trump's got quite a bit of money, so he fights back, and he's determined to see it through. They didn't expect that, and all the while they're doing this, Reid Hoffman funding E. Jean Carroll to go after all that sort of stuff. They're doing all these harassment lawsuits. are actually creating a publicity effect where people are seeing Trump as the guy. Hey, you know, if you can do that to Trump, what can you do to us? By supporting Trump, we fight you, and that connection wasn't seen by the mainly Jewish, but not exclusively activists that were pushing this to Soros and again, you know, Reid Hoffman and so on. So Trump's determination to not let them beat him in itself becomes an advert for, if you like, stoicism, determination, you know, being resolute in the face of such adversity and so on, which again is earning him votes, and rightly so, incidentally. So Trump's ability to fight them every step of the way and not let them beat him, I guess, is a better way of phrasing that. I think has won him plaudits in many quarters, and again, rightly so in my view. And it's also exposing the deep state for the sleazy, shitty tactics they are using and do use to bring down and prevent any you know, political opponents getting up. But anyone who opposes globalization is now an enemy, and this is where the literally Hitler thing comes from. So, you know, you oppose or question globalization, and you are literally Hitler as far as the propagandists of the globalist cabal are concerned. So things just kept on escalating. They just kept on upping the ante and just adding another charge or adding another threat or more you know, globalist media attempts at portraying him in a negative light, and that the pressure is intense from a legal and every other point of view. Now, Trump's a wealthy man, so he can fight back against that in ways that other people can't. But nonetheless, it was an intense struggle. There's no doubt that he must have had times that he sat there as he quietly waited for his golfing partner to complete their shot down the fairway, where his mind wandered just for that moment. He thought, why the fuck am I doing this? Why am I putting up with this shit? But he's doing it for you, and he's doing it for America. And that again, the people realize this, and again has won him very unjustifiably so, won him many accolades. A lesser person would have just gone, nah, don't need it. But Trump stayed the course. Again, you know, he had the wealth to do this. Other people would have just been steamrolled over, because remember, the state has infinite resources to go after you, whereas and is prepared to waste, you know, gazillions in chasing. Whereas you know, Trump is a very rich man and can fight back. So every time they put a lawyer onto you, you know, you've got a lawyer fighting them and opposing them. But there's also other things like the lawyers that work for Trump. You know, the deep state would try and get at them. So you'll never have another license again to practice law. So that they'd have had to be very careful about getting lawyers from red states, so they couldn't be politically intimidated behind the scenes. You know, a lot of things had to go on in background again, and these struggles would have gone on in background, attempt to intimidate Trump's lawyers and threaten witnesses, and all sorts of things would have been going on. We see that in New York, you know, getting activist judges to hear the case, or getting you know, stacking juries and so on. It's insane the lengths they're prepared to go to, the corrupt practices they're prepared to engage in. But look, this is again all come out in Trump's favor. This is why when Trump goes into a football stadium, the crowd erupts. You know, he's now a hero. He's fighting in a you know, knock him down, drag him out fight with the deep state, and they can't beat him, and they can't stop him, and they can't neutralize him, and he's still fighting on and staring them down. And you know, there's a few other factors in here that the deep state just couldn't corrupt and bribe and threaten or intimidate enough judges to get it all. You know, if they could have corrupted every appellate court, if they could have corrupted every Supreme Court at state level, and of course at the federal level, the Supreme Court of the United States, if they could have corrupted and inserted their activists into all of these courts, then they would have got him. Let's just be clear, they would have got him. They would have nailed him, but they just couldn't corrupt and undermine enough judges. That was all, in the end, that's what it came down to. Sure, Trump's staying power, his wealth and all that, his determination. Okay, sure, all of that, huge factor there. But they just couldn't get to enough and corrupt enough judges and appoint enough corrupt judges and activist judges to do this. So it looks like the case against Trump in New York will either be overturned or watered down, or certainly that's the prima facie look the way it's looking there. It doesn't look like the cases in Florida are going to go anywhere. Increasingly, the case in Georgia is looking weaker and weaker. Jack Smith's latest sort of rehashing of the case looks like that's going to struggle. That hasn't got the legs that they hoped it would have. So there's a strong possibility Trump could win every single legal case and then get other cases like the E. Jean Carroll case appealed in a higher court and overturned as well. And I suspect that's going to happen, would be my reading of things. But again, the deep state just couldn't have enough activist, corrupt judges in the right places at the right time where they needed them. And we should thank God for that. But we also need to realize just how close they came to neutralize, not just the assassination attempts. I mean, that, goodness me, that's close enough. But the attempt to take him down legally, to bankrupt him financially, how close they came to succeeding there. And it's just they just didn't quite have enough corrupt judges in all the right places at the right time. And we need to be aware of that. And we need to understand that the legal system, a fully functioning legal system with incorruptible, impartial judges, is the most prominent sign of an advanced society. You have that, you have an advanced society. You don't have it, you do not have an advanced society. You've been attached to today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.